Next, I want to look at some specific types of problems involving percents. These are percent increase or decrease. In these problems, we're specifically looking to see what percent a quantity is increasing or decreasing by. And in a situation like this, the part is always the change and the whole is always the original. So it's going to be the change is what percent of the original. It's important here to recognize two things. The first quantity in the percent equation is always going to be the amount that a value has changed by between the original value and the new value. And then the last part of the percent equation always refers back to the original value. Let's take a look at two problems now. A college student's good grades earned her a discount on her car insurance. Find the percent of decrease to the nearest percent if her premium was lowered from $1,050 to $925. Here, we're going to need to set up the percent equation, starting with the change being a certain percent of the original. Now, we're not told directly what the change was. We were told the original price and the final price. To calculate what the change is, we have to find the difference. So we have to take 1,050 minus 925. And if we do that, we can see that the change is $125. So when we set up the percent equation, the change is $125. And we're asking this is what percent of, what was the original premium? Well, it was lowered from 1,050 to 925. So originally it was 1,050. So that is what has to go here. So we're asking ourselves 125 is what percent of 1,050. Converting this into an equation, we get 125 equals what percent we don't know, so that's x, and then times 1,050. To get x alone, we need to get rid of that 1,050, and we're going to do it by dividing both sides by 1,050. On the right, that leaves us with x by itself. On the left, when we divide, we get approximately 0.11905. I'm just going to round. This is more digits than we're going to need in the end, but I'd rather have more digits than fewer. Now, we're not done yet for two reasons. First, we were asked what percent it was, the percent decrease. So we need to convert this to a percent. To do that, we move the decimal point to the right two places, so 11.905%. But we were asked to find it to the nearest percent. So we've got to round to the nearest percent. We've got 11.9. That 9 means we're rounding up, and that gives us 12%. So she saved 12% on her car insurance by having good grades. All right, let's do another one. A pearl necklace of former First Lady Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis, originally valued at $700, was sold at auction for $211,500. Find the percent of increase in the value of the necklace, round to the nearest percent. Again, we need to figure out the change so that we can write the change is what percent of the original. We're not given the change. We're given the new price and the original price. To figure out the change, we have to take the difference. And if we take $211,500 minus $700, we end up with $210,800. So the necklace changed in value by $210,800. And so now that we know the change, we can set up the percent equation. We have 210,800 is what percent of the original value, which was $700. Converting this into an equation, we have 210,800 means equals what percent, we don't know, that's x, of is multiply, and then 700 gets brought down. And to solve for x, we need to divide both sides by 700. On the left, when we divide 210,800 by 700, we get 301.1429 approximately. It keeps going if you look at your calculator. Mine says 301.142857. Your calculator may display more digits. I just want to make sure that we have several digits so we've got more than we need. And that's equal to x. Now, this is not going to be the final answer. It's not going to be 301% because this number is not yet a percent. It's a decimal number. To change from a decimal to a percent, we have to move the decimal point to the right 2 places. So this is going to be 30114.29%. And rounding to the nearest percent, that is 30,114%. That is the percent increase. Why did that necklace increase in value so much? Well, because a celebrity wore it. It was a beautiful necklace. It was worn by the First Lady. So, of course, it's something that's very, very precious. In general, when celebrities own things, the percent increase when it goes to auction is often well over 100%. We're looking at things that are being multiplied by ridiculous amounts of money because they're one-of-a-kind items, whereas percent decreases are never going to be over 100%. If they decreased the price of something by over 100%, they'd be paying you, and no one does that. So with percent decreases, it's generally going to be less than 100%. With percent increases, it could be much, much more than 100%.